later in this episode.
Our next tip, there's a loophole. We found a loophole, and I haven't seen it reported anywhere else, so I think it's ours.
And I think this is the biggest tip of all.
And I think this is the big reveal. We've not talked about it yet. Now, do you remember the tip we told you earlier where we said you're not able to stack with this system? Well, the loophole changes all of that.
What are these sneaky secrets to being better at Disney's new Skip the Line service than everyone else?
We're going through all of them right now. Let's talk Lightning Lane Multipass.
Woo! All right, friends, today we are taking you through the 15 sneaky secrets to being better at the brand new Skip the Line system, which is called Lightning Lane Multipass. Essentially, Lightning Lanes are the queues that are going to help you skip the standby line in Disney, and you can skip some long standby lines in Disney, thank goodness. This guy knows what I'm talking about. He knows that there's actually 2 ways to access Lightning Lanes around Disney World. The first is going to be that Lightning Lane Multipass. It's a one-time purchase that's going to let you skip most of the rides at Disney World. You're gonna have to book your Lightning Lane times, and you can actually hold 3 reservations at a time with the new system, which we're really excited about. And you purchase the option for the first day of the park. Now, the other side of things is called the Lightning Lane Single Pass. It's a one-ride a la carte kind of selection for the more popular rides around Disney World. Here in Magic Kingdom, that's going to be for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train or even Tron. You can purchase your Lightning Lanes before you actually go to the park 7 days in advance for the length of your trip if you're staying at a Disney World hotel, and then 3 days in advance if you are not a resort guest. When you purchase, you're actually able to book your first 3 Lightning Lanes for the day before you even buy it. So that way you know what you're getting before you have to put the money down. Now, if all of this sounds a little bit confusing, do not worry. We actually have it all for free in writing for you if you're curious. Just head over to the QR code right here that we're going to show on the screen, and you're going to be able to put in your name and email, and we're going to send you our ultimate guide to the brand new Lightning Lane system for free. First things first on this list, do not give up on Tiana. Tiana is technically a Lightning Lane, not a single pass. So she's included in that first 3, and a lot of times we've seen that she is sold out pretty quickly, but I'm here to say do not give up hope. We have tested this one a lot. Quincy in particular has tested this multiple times, getting on My Disney Experience day of at 7 a.m. and then looking for Tiana Lightning Lanes, and actually has found them fairly easily. That's because people tend to hold on to Tiana's, but then when they get that virtual queue at 7, they move their Lightning Lane to a different tier 1. So always go for that virtual queue at 7 a.m. on the first day of your visit if you want to head into the Bayou. But if you want to try for it twice, keep looking for that multi-pass right after 7 to see if anything opens up. Because Tiana said it herself, she's almost there, and so are you on your Magic Kingdom day.
Trust us when we say, grab a throwaway ride reservation first thing. One of our #1 strategies is to grab a reservation for what some might consider a less desirable ride, like Mad Tea Party, so you can have one of your slots filled with a ride you're able to ride as soon as the park opens. You want to get the earliest reservation possible so that once you ride that ride, you have that multi-pass open to book another, hopefully, tier 1 ride. Now, you're gonna have to ride something before you can book a second tier 1 ride. That means that if your first reservation for the day is at 10 a.m., you're not gonna be able to book a reservation for a second tier 1 until you ride that ride at 10 a.m. That's way too late. You gotta get this day started early, and you gotta start booking those next reservations because other people are doing the same thing, and a lot of the more popular rides are gonna start booking up fast, meaning you may not even get a reservation for it if you wait too long.
Thanks to our awesome reporters, our next tip is that you might want to be saving your single passes for later, which might sound a little bit odd because we're super excited about those single passes, but do not do them first thing in the day. Using your first single Lightning Lane selection first thing in the morning might not be the smartest move. Unless you really want to just kind of get your big ride out of the way, it really makes sense to kind of book your single pass a little bit later in the day, so that way you can book your Lightning Lanes earlier in the day. Once you start using your Lightning Lanes in the morning, you can start making new ones. But with your single pass, it's a one and done situation, and you can't make any more outside of that because, again, they're kind of an extra charge. So if you book it for later, that means you can start using your Lightning Lanes earlier, and you can get more Lightning Lanes and more bang for your buck. We also also found that we are actually losing out on a little bit of time when it comes to making our selections for our lightning lanes because we're using that single pass before other lightning lanes. You can actually modify your single pass to be later in the day when you're booking, and that can help you get an even earlier multi-pass time. Saving your single pass for later means you don't have to rush to all the major rides first thing, and it can kind of help you maximize how many lightning lanes you get in your day.
Use rope drop strategy to ride popular rides twice. Get here early. Rope drop your favorite ride, ride it by going into the standby line, and then come back after you've procured a lightning lane reservation for it later and ride twice. Don't be tricked by lightning lane reservations that end early. Now, what we mean by this is there are some experiences you can book a lightning lane reservation for that has a hard end time, and that's because there are only certain times you can experience it. This comes in to play for a show like Festival of the Lion King. They only have so many set show times. You're booking a reservation for that particular show, not for an experience you can just stop in and have at any time during your window period. You have to be there for the show you've made a reservation for. So don't get relaxed and think, oh, we've got all day to experience it, because if you have a reservation for a 5 p.m. show, you better be there, scan in, and enjoy the show, or else you're not gonna see it. You also want to keep an eye on Kilimanjaro safaris in Animal Kingdom, because this ride will close early also based on when the sun goes down, whatever's happening that day with the weather. You want to keep an eye on Kilimanjaro safaris. Check the time at the beginning of the day to make sure it's not going to close early on you so you don't miss it. Refresh, refresh, refresh. Refreshing can save your lightning lanes. One major change in Plus Up is that you can now make 3 lightning lane multi-pass reservations before your day even starts. So refreshing isn't quite as important as it was with the last system, but it can be beneficial. With bigger rides like Slinky Dog, often those multi-pass reservations will be gone and stay gone for most of the day, but that doesn't mean you should give up on checking back occasionally. So for example, Emma recently was doing a best day ever in Hollywood Studios using the brand new system, and she really wanted to ride Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, but it was sold out pretty early and gone for the day. She kept at it. She casually refreshed and checked back, and later in the day she was able to get a multi-pass reservation for it that started within the next hour. It was such an awesome surprise for her, and we all know how this feels when you think, oh, there's no way I'm gonna get to ride this ride today using this system, and I often feel defeated and kind of tend to give up, but really that's the worst advice and not one of the tips. Do not give up on refreshing. Keep at it. You don't have to make your whole day about it, but whenever you think about it, do it. If you want to set a couple alarms for yourself to check in and refresh, do it.
For our next tip, you annual pass holders need to listen up, because this one's about y'all. This can be a pretty big issue when it comes to making your multi-pass lightning lane selections, or even just getting a normal virtual queue. Now, for 90% of people coming to Disney World, you don't need to make park reservations anymore, which is very exciting. But for annual pass holders, you actually do need to continue to make your park reservations, because if you don't, it does not recognize you as being in the park until 2 p.m. Now, yeah, this tip might not apply to every single person, but it can make a huge difference if you are traveling in with an annual pass, or if you're just local with an annual pass, or you just have an annual pass. Okay, next tip is you need to plan your day every day. And that sounds a little bit stressful, but it's not. This is gonna make your day much less stressful if you just kinda set yourself up for success. So this one is going to require the My Disney Experience app, which you should already have if you're going to be using Lightning Lane or the single pass system. It's a free app up on the App Store right now. Just go grab it, and you need a Disney account, which again, you hopefully should already have, because all of your tickets and everything is going to be in this one spot. Kind of like a one-stop shop situation. Now, what you're going to do every single day of your trip is you're going to go to the My Day section on the app. Then you're gonna head over to the recommended activity, and you are going to plan your day. Now, the thing we love so much about the new Lightning Lane system is that you can kind of pre-plan your day, and that is true. Once you get started, you're gonna select the date, hopefully the day of your trip. And then you're going to choose the park that you're going to, and this is where you're going to start focusing on the attractions part of things. The characters and dining and all that, that's nice to have, but that's not what we're worried about right now. This is going to be important when you go to book your lightning lanes later, so make sure to select your top attractions, basically your highest priorities when it comes to making lightning lanes. When the Disney app knows the rides that you're interested in, it's actually going to display those rides at the top as you pin them for your modify screen. So when you go to modify through your selections and you're making your next lightning lanes, it's going to push those to the top of that modify page, so that way when it's time, you can actually select the rides that are most important to you. This is not as useful as it used to be with the Genie Plus service, but it can still make a really big difference if you're looking for a better time for one of your higher priorities. Now, as you're working on this kind of throughout the day, as you're able to get those high priority rides, you can actually remove them by doing the same system over and just kind of taking them down, and that's going to help you throughout the rest of your day, so that way you remember what your priorities are and you have a better chance at getting better times for them. Now, all of this being said, you're going to do this the day of your trip, so those 3 lightning lanes that you already grabbed 3 days or 7 days before, don't include those in your top priorities, even if they are in your heart, because you already got those lightning lanes. You don't need them again, so it'll just clog up your modify bar. Just leave those alone. You don't need to include them. The best part about this is it's really going to help with your refreshing, your planning, and your modifying throughout the rest of the day, and hopefully it'll take a little bit of that mental weight off as well.
Wake up early!
Good morning, 7 a.m.
Make your multi-pass reservations as early as you're allowed to, either 7 or 3 days in advance of your vacation. If you're a Disney Resort guest, you can make your Lightning Lane multi-pass selection 7 days before your trip starts, and then plan for the rest of your trip as well. That's right. Starting the first day, which is 7 days from the first day of your vacation, you're able to book your reservations for your Lightning Lane multi-pass for the entirety of your trip. If you're not staying at a Disney hotel, you can book them 3 days in advance. You make your first 3 Lightning Lane multi-pass reservations and buy your single passes at 7 a.m. when your window opens. And you don't have to pay until after you've made your selections. That's right, if you don't get the reservations that you want, or you think it's looking grim, you don't have to actually pay for the service. You can X out and poof. So by waking up early, a few days before your visit, you get to sleep in for the rest of your trip, which will be a major help if you're planning to stay from open to close. However, waking up at 7 might still be beneficial. According to our research, we found that around 7 a.m. on the day of your visit, you can begin to modify Lightning Lane reservations for the day and get even better, aka earlier times. This is when people start adjusting their days, making plans, so new times might be available and open up for you. The point is, get up early and check those return times and see if you can modify to get something earlier or just in general better for the way you've designed your day. You'll also still need those 7 a.m. virtual queue wake-up calls, so get to bed as early as you can and don't forget to set your alarm.
Well, now that we've been awake for a while and we've got all those passes, why don't you come on in early? That's our next tip. You're coming in early. This is a tried and true tip. You can still tap in 5 minutes early, and you even have a little bit of a grace period, which Breed Love is going to get into in a minute. Tapping in early is going to be able to help you make another multi-pass a little bit sooner than other people, and it might even help you get another multi-pass. So if your time starts at 3, go on over at 2:55. Tell them I sent you. You can tell them that, but they're not going to know what you mean also, by the way. Coming in early, we're staying late. And did you know that if you start in Animal Kingdom, you can actually save a little bit of money? That's true, but it's not as beneficial as it may sound. When the system first launched, a lot of people noticed that you're able to purchase Animal Kingdom's Lightning Lane Multipass system for cheaper than Magic Kingdom's and then park hop over here. That is all true. Technically, you can buy the Lightning Lane Multipass system for Animal Kingdom at a cheaper price than Magic Kingdom, but use it in Magic Kingdom. We've noticed this, that is true. However, you saving a little bit of money might mean that you miss out on some of Magic Kingdom's biggest rides if you're trying to kind of finesse the system that way. Your first 3 lightning lanes, if you're booking in advance, are still gonna have to be at Animal Kingdom. And because of that, it means you might miss out on making 3 great lightning lane passes for here in Magic Kingdom. You also technically have to use one of those lightning lanes in Animal Kingdom before you can start modifying everything over to Magic. So even if you think, oh, I'll make these 3 and then I'll just switch them, you technically are supposed to use one before you can switch them over to Magic Kingdom, meaning you're still missing out on really valuable time. So technically, yes, you can buy the more inexpensive park and then still use this system in the most expensive park, but you are missing out on some of the best and biggest rides here in Magic Kingdom. It's like Tiana's Bayou Adventure, Peter Pan's Flight, and Jungle Cruise. And if you're willing to skip the big ones, sure, save a little bit of money. But in my opinion, that means that you're not going to be making the most of the awesome system that we now have. All of that to be said, the upcharge, I think, is definitely still worth it. Pay for Magic Kingdom, maximize your Magic Kingdom day.
I'm cooling down.
Well, I mean, it's a different kind of cool down. But you already know that.
Oh, really? Funny you should mention it because we're not even supposed to cool down anymore. And I'm not talking temperature this time, or that I was looking hot. And now to the matter at hand. The fact that with the former program that was called Genie Plus, there was something that we all feared terribly, and that was the 2-hour cool down that happened once you made a Lightning Lane reservation. Unless you used that Lightning Lane reservation and booked the next one, if it was for later in the day, you had to wait a full 2 hours before making your next reservation. So now, instead of having to wait and book the next one, you can book one as soon as you use one, but there might be a loophole. This is a cliffhanger.
Cliffhanger foreshadowing. Next tip, do not waste your passes. What do I mean by that? Basically, it just means don't waste any of your Lightning Lane multi-passes for things that are typically low weights or things like shows. You're gonna wanna use those Lightning Lane multi-passes for things like Space Mountain and not for Magic Carpets of Aladdin. Sorry, Al, but that's just the truth. The one little caveat is that if you are grabbing a lower wait time to kind of use as a throwaway first thing in the morning, which Breedlove already talked about, you should only be grabbing Lightning Lanes for rides you are super, super excited about. You paid money for this, so you need to make it worth your while. Now this one is a point we've kind of started hedging on and touching on a little bit, but it is so, so, so important. Do not give up hope for a multi-pass Lightning Lane. And you might be thinking, what are you talking about? We'll get into it. Keep checking back. And this doesn't need to be excessive. It doesn't need to be all day, but keep checking back. Do not give up hope. Sometimes ride Lightning Lanes are going to disappear and then they're going to say they're completely gone forever. But do not give up hope. Don't let it go just yet. Our biggest tip is going to be to keep checking throughout the day, especially if that particular ride is a #1 priority. And again, we've kind of hedged this, but we want to say it clearly. Not feeling defeated until the end of the day is completely over is so helpful, and checking consistently. You never know what could pop up. You never know what plans other people might cancel, and it might be the difference of you getting to ride your #1 priority or not getting to.
Our next tip, there's a loophole. Yes, we found a loophole, and I haven't seen it reported anywhere else, so I think it's ours.
And I think this is the biggest tip of all.
And I think this is the big reveal. We've not talked about it yet.
We've not hedged it once
No.
for some reason.
And
I don't know why.
this is a big moment. Okay. All right. So on the day that MultiPass launched, I was in Epcot. Emma, you were in Hollywood Studios. No, were you in Magic? You were in Hollywood Studios. Quincy was in Magic Kingdom, and we were all testing out the new system, pushing it to the limit to find out everything it could do. I had a dining reservation at Spice Road Table, and I wanted to see what would happen if I had conflicting ride reservations with a dining reservation in the My Disney Experience app. I thought I would get at least an alert. I got nothing. It did recognize the fact that I had a reservation in the app, but it also not only allowed me to make additional reservations during the time of my dining reservation, it also suggested more to me. So there I was eating at Spice Road Table, and all of my ride times started to expire. My 1 hour return windows were starting to go. So I went ahead and I ate, because normally in situations like this, we recommend that you have the experience that involves you spending more money, because Disney would prefer you to do dining and then return to a ride reservation that you already paid for later. So that's what I did. I ended up arriving to Spaceship Earth a little over 3 hours after my return window started. Okay, that's 2 hours after that first hour. And it scanned blue, which is what it means when your reservation is invalid, whether it was never valid to begin with or it has become invalid because you waited too long to write it. Then I went over to Living with the Land, and I went in at just under 3 hours, and I scanned green, which means the reservation was still good. This discovery that we had almost 3 hours to ride Living with the Land led me to want to go and test this further, obviously. And so we did, and we discovered that not only do you have a full 3 hours, according to the way that we have been scanning in all of our tests, from the time that your window starts, your return time for that Lightning Lane reservation, in order to ride the ride. As long as you're in there by the 3 hour mark, a little bit before, they're gonna let you ride. You're gonna go in and you're gonna scan green. By testing this further, we also discovered something amazing, that at the 1 hour mark, so as soon as your return window, according to the My Disney Experience app, expires, you suddenly have that lane, that multi-pass lane, opened up and available to book your next reservation without having had to ride the first one. And even though it expires according to the schedule on the app, it hasn't expired in terms of your ability to ride. You have that 3 hours, but after the first hour, you're allowed to book your next Lightning Lane reservation, be it Tier 1 or Tier 2. Whatever's available. Testing this method with no other strategy, I got here an hour and a half after the park opened. I was taking my time. I booked my first reservations at 10 p.m. the night before. I was not trying to be impressive. I was just trying to test this, what originally started as a theory and now we understand to be a loophole. And I was able at one point to stack 10 rides. Now, do you remember the tip we told you earlier where we said you're not able to stack with this system? Well, the loophole changes all of that. I was able to get 10 at one time. I had so many rides booked at once during my test day that it was hard to keep up with writing them all. It was an embarrassment of riches, and I can tell this is something that needs to be explored further, and I think Quincy is the perfect person to test this and use strategy and push this to the max and see exactly how much this loophole is capable of changing our day in Walt Disney World. So Quincy, I challenge you, push the loophole to the limit and show us what it's got.
Did someone say Lightning Lane challenge? Challenge accepted.
Now, because this loophole requires following an alternative timetable that will not be kept for you in the My Disney Experience app, I decided it was a good idea for me personally, the way my brain works, to start setting myself a series of 2 alarms per attraction to remember what to do next. You're gonna wanna set your first alarm at the very end of your initial return window. This is the time frame given to you by the app when you first book the reservation. You're gonna set that first alarm for the time that hour ends. That's because that's the time you're gonna book your reservation for your next ride. Then you're gonna book another timer or alarm for the time that you are going to return to ride that ride. You don't wanna get outside of the 3 hours that you're given right now by the system to return and then have it scan blue and have all this work be for nothing. So I set a series of alarms for every single attraction of the day, 2 of them, so I remember not only to book my next reservation and the 3 hour window that you have from beginning of your return time through that grace period of 2 hours to ride. If you like this video, go ahead and like and subscribe.
Now, if you want to learn a lot more about Lightning Lane Multipass, you can check out Quincy's crash course on the channel right now. Bye!
See you later.